As on May 22, the yearly returns offered by Nifty and the yearly returns offered by mid-cap were so similar that there is hardly any difference between these two. This is called an inflection point by equity market experts. Why this inflection point is so important for our study? This is very important whether you want to invest in large cap or mid cap is mostly determined by this inflection point and the trend that immediately preceded this inflection point. If you can now pay some attention to the graph on the screen, let me first explain what this graph speaks about. There is a zero line on the screen and there is a green line which keeps going up and coming down and again going up and again coming down. It is doing the crisscrossing of the zero line as the time moves to the right. As you can see from 2010 onwards, you can see the green line surging upwards up to the extent of 60. That is nothing but 60%. That means mid caps have rallied by more than 60% over and above the Nifty in the year 2010. And going forward to the right, if you see, there may not be such kind of profound rallies in mid cap, but still there were some rallies which can be explained by the green line above the zero implies that during those periods of time, the mid caps 1 yearly returns are much higher than Nifty returns. On the contrary, if you see the graph falling below the zero line or the green line dropping below the zero line, that implies mid cap is underperforming Nifty, which implies Nifty is outperforming mid cap. So whenever this kind of situation emerges in the market, you can start the journey in either mid cap or large cap. When is it right for you to be in the mid cap segment? When is it right for you to be in the large cap segment is going to be determined based on the trends displayed by the market over a period of time. Because experience suggests across the global markets, mid caps rally for some time and large caps rally for some other time. So there is going to be change between these two as the time goes by. As you can see, the mid cap outperformance is normally very profound and steep when it goes up. But when it falls under, that means when it goes below zero, you will not see such a kind of deep valleys forming on the downside, which implies that Nifty can outperform mid cap, but it cannot outperform mid cap by 60% or 50% kind of stuff. Normally, the Nifty can only outperform the mid cap by about 10% or 20% in most of the situations. Now, if you also can see the graph one more time, there is a purple graph which is filled with purple color. You can see the line stopped after 2018 or 19. Why it stopped? Because this is indicating if you start the investment journey on that day and then hold just the mid-cap index for 3 years' time, how much was the return offered by the mid-cap index? This purple line indicates that. That means whenever the green line is below the zero, that has to be understood as explained by me already. Nifty is outperforming mid-cap, which can also be explained as mid-cap is underperforming Nifty. Whenever you start the investment journey in such periods of time, when Nifty is doing very well compared to mid-cap, the journey, if you start on that period of time and hold your mid-cap investment for 3 years' time, even the mid-cap index, they give you the returns of 20, 25, 30, even 35% return also, just going by the index. Now you realize that the opportunity of getting into the mid-cap and building a significant wealth will be coming to you if Nifty starts outperforming, as is likely to be the case from now going forward. Why am I saying it? If you can look at the graph, from August 2020, the mid-cap dominance has started. Before that, Nifty was doing well, as can be seen in the graph. But from August 2020 onwards, mid-caps have started rallying and it has really peaked by 2022 beginning or 2021 ending, and then afterwards they started falling again. That means Nifty and mid-cap both were actually merging. That is what is called inflection point. Now, historically, if you see from this graph also from 2009, you will understand whenever this kind of inflection point is reached, post that event, the index that has rallied so far will start underperforming and the index that has played an underdog will start outperforming going forward. If such situation emerges, we see a clear possibility of large cap outperforming in the days to come. So if your investment horizon is less than 3 years period of time, in equity markets, if you are holding the investment for 1 year or 2 years, you are still called a short-term investor. You are not a trader, but you are going to be called a short-term investor. If you are a short-term investor holding the investment for less than 3 years period of time, this should be the time that you should think of only large cap stocks. Suppose if you are a trader, even then you have to understand that try to buy and only large cap shares and then sell, because many Indian investors are used to the habit of buying first and selling next. They don't do the short selling. 95% of the traders also believe in buying first and selling next. If you are one in that category, you must realize that you have to you have to put your bets only on the large cap stocks going forward from May 26th onwards, because large cap outperformance is likely to emerge again for some extended period of time. And if you are an investor, start investing only in large cap, provided your time horizon is less than 3 years time. This brings me to a topic of when should mid-cap investment be considered. You are not going to let mid-caps slip and die. It is not going to happen. Whenever the Nifty outperformance is really profound in the market, that means this green line goes below the zero and stays there at some time, at least for about 15-20 days, then you can understand that is the time that you should start thinking about mid-cap investment. Because across the world again, mid-caps are believed to be meant for wealth creation, large caps are meant for wealth preservation. Now is the time for wealth preservation techniques to prevail in the market, but for wealth creation, maybe after a month or maybe after a month and a half, the opportunities will definitely come to your fold where Nifty will be outperforming the mid cap in a significant way. Once that happens, you have to start your mid cap. Please understand, when I say 3 years period or 4 years period or shorter period, I am not suggesting you to buy the stocks and then stay with them throughout the journey. No. All that I am saying is, should you be in the large cap space or should you be in the mid cap space? That means if we buy 5 or 6 shares from large cap segment, and then after some time, if any one of them reaches the target price, sell it, but replace it only with the large cap share. Similarly, if the Nifty performance is really outperformance is profound and you start mid-cap journey at that point of time, mid-cap basket should be created, and when you sell any of the mid-cap shares because it reached the target or because the company stopped performing any further, replace it with the mid-cap shares. If you start doing this exercise for 3 years time, you can comfortably expect to get 30 to 35% return CAGR per year. This is from the history. Because even by holding mid-cap index, in the times of Nifty outperformance, index has given about 20 to 25% and very comfortably. If you go with a stock-specific approach, you are very easy to get 30 to 35% compounding rates of return. So please understand, going forward from 2022 May 26th onwards, large caps may outperform for some time. This is the time for us to pause. That means mid-cap investors may have to take a pause for some time and then wait for the better times to come. Let Nifty beat the mid-cap by a significant margin, and then we'll start our mid-cap investment journey. Vivekam intends to come up with stock-specific theme, sector-specific themes, and also some basket themes to make sure that all the investors who have joined hands with Vivekam will have peaceful and prosperous journey as long as they continue their journey with Vivekam. We wish you all the best. Thank you.